Hold on a second there. Have you got your flash off? Welcome to our beautiful sea dragon exhibit. These are our very special sea dragons, only found here in Australia. And they have very sensitive eyes. In fact, we need to make sure all flash and any excess light is avoided from this exhibit to keep these sea dragons nice and safe. So, we have our beautiful leafy sea dragon Brett, and next to Brett is Bella, one of our weedy sea dragons. The two species that we have here in the Australian waters. Nowhere else in the world do you find sea dragons but in Australia, and the bottom part of Australia is the most common place to see them, as they do like the water a little cooler than our northern creatures. Sea dragons are sometimes mistaken for floating weed. This is due to the way that they are incredibly shaped. As you can see with Brett, he's got these long leafy appendages, and they're actually not helping Brett move at all. If we take a closer look, down the back of Brett we can see a single set of moving fins. These are to help Brett move through the water. Either side of Brett's face are some side fins to help with direction. Sea dragons are pretty much at mercy of the ocean's currents, but have got a very clever way of being able to nestle themselves into protected waters to stay safe. Sea dragons find their food source down the bottom of our leafy kelpy seagrass meadows. And the favourite diet of our sea dragons are shrimp, and especially here at AQWA, mysids, which we find nice and local just out in the Marmion Marine Park. So our sea dragons are getting the best quality food possible right in their own backyard. For a sea dragon, they do eat a lot of shrimp throughout the day. Their long snouts have no teeth, so they're perfectly designed to suck up as much shrimp as they can. Here at AQWA, we constantly are always adding food into their exhibit, and we are carefully monitoring exactly how much of that food they're eating. It can be a big task to maintain a nice supply of the sea dragon's quality food source, so our divers are out daily collecting and making sure we have food on hand to not only provide these guys with just aquarium sourced food, but food straight from the wild. And we're very lucky to have our sea dragon whisperer, Luke, just about to come in and join in and tell us all about caring for these beautiful creatures.
Hey! Yeah, okay, well we're just witnessing the feeding time right now. So the little mysids, which we collect over here, and we freeze them so that they've got all the right nutrients for the animals, and we slowly feed them in through an auto feeder up here. I just love them all. The colours are amazing, the way they behave, it's good. I think my favourite thing about Brett is that he's outlived his usual lifespan, so that means that we take good care of him. That makes me happy.
When it comes to the water warming up around spring, it's when our sea dragons begin to breed and mate. It's a very special courtship ritual that is performed with the sea dragons and can be very difficult for them to find the right partner. Basically, the sea dragons will hunt for someone that they can be in sync with, as the courtship can go on for many days. It's the female that produces the eggs, and it can be very hard to tell sea dragons apart unless they are currently engaging in the breeding activities. With the female, if you shine a light through her abdomen, you can see these eggs of ruby colour internally. But it's when the transfer occurs and the eggs are attached to the male's brooding pouch that we can tell that we're looking at a male sea dragon. With our sea dragons, the male sea dragon will produce a breeding pouch in which the female will attach each of these sticky eggs to the breeding pouch. This can take up to 4 to 5 days, and in that process, at the same time, they are in sync with one another, gently moving with those movements to be able to attach those eggs. Each of the eggs are attached to the male's vascular system, providing the eggs with oxygen. The male is totally responsible for caring for the eggs. And normally it can be between 9 to 12 weeks of the gestation process. Halfway through that time, they'll lose around 50% of the eggs attached on their tail. And that brooding pouch will continue caring for the eggs right to the end, and as each of them do hatch, little small sea dragons occur. Attached to them is a small yolk sac that they can use to help keep them fed for a few days until they start developing their own feeding abilities. Their long snouts start working within a few days, and then they'll go start hunting for small little marine organisms and larvae. The mortality rate of our small juvenile sea dragons is quite high. Out there in the wild, they have a lot to contend with, but once they do start hunting for themselves, the small sea dragons grow very fast. By the time they're 1, they're nearly up to 20 centimetres in size. with the Leafy Seadragon reaching up to 30 centimetres fully grown. By the time they're 2, they're ready to sexually reproduce themselves. It's not every year that they may be successful in finding a mate, but they do attempt to breed at least twice a year, and this starts in around September, carrying on through late December. As we move down to look at Brett now, we're going to look at how our sea dragons eat. This long tubercle snout is perfectly designed to suck up small shrimp called mysids. As Luke was talking about, here at AQWA we have got the best quality source of food for these sea dragons, as it's found locally out in our Marmia Marine Park, right out in our back door. For Brett right now, he'll extend his neck out back and target these beautiful small shrimp. Their eyesight is perfectly precisioned to be able to identify the falling shrimp and grab it. Out in the wild, they are hunting live food. So here at AQWA, our sea dragons, we do take a little bit of the hard work out for them. Having a good look at those eyes, because sea dragons having to hunt out in the wild, it can be very hard to see these very small particles of food. So for the sea dragons, having eyes that are able to move independently of each other enable them to find all of those sneaky little bits of food, whether they are behind or in front of the sea dragon. That's right, imagine being able to see behind without even turning your head. So we didn't have any questions about our sea dragons, but Josie would like to know something about seahorses. She wants to know why male seahorses are the ones that care for the babies. Well, it's very similar with our sea dragons. There are a few differences though, with the sea dragons having a brooding pouch in which the eggs are attached to their vascular systems. Seahorses actually just hold them in a pouch. But Mum does do a bit of hard work as well. She develops those eggs internally inside herself, but to finish them off, the male seahorse keeps them inside his pouch for safekeeping so they can fully develop. So the dad does a little bit of the hard work really, just to make sure those eggs are fully ready to be developed and live out on their own. Thanks guys for coming and talking about sea dragons with us today. If you're into learning a little bit more about these incredible animals that are only found here in the Australian waters, look up the very newly discovered ruby sea dragon. Amazing for us Australian scientists. It was found here in our very own Australian waters in Western Australia, and it's a little bit of a project for you guys on school holidays. So if you have got any more questions, we'd love to hear from you, and please do keep on sending them in, and we'll talk to you very soon. Thank you.